Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jim. My name is Megan Vessel. I'm here this evening as a representative of the Brazilian Immigrant Center based in Bridgeport. The Brazilian Immigrant Center stands alongside immigrant families in their struggle for social and economic justice, equality, and opportunity. We're concerned about justice in the workplace for all workers, but especially immigrant ones, because they're, as you know, susceptible to wage theft. In our work, we see many cases of wage theft where immigrant workers are exploited in the workplace either because they have not received a minimum wage, overtime, or have not been paid at all. Wage theft is an issue that's not widely discussed or known about in the dominant culture, but it has wide-ranging social justice implications for low-income families. It can place workers, especially immigrants, and their families at risk for eviction and possibly homelessness, hunger, and the inability to afford a wide variety of basic needs. In a 2008 study by the National Employment Law Project, it was found that 64% of low-wage workers, many of those immigrants, experienced wage theft each week. As part of the process, we also are spearheading the domestic worker movement in the state of Connecticut. Domestic workers are house cleaners, elderly care attendants, and nannies. And as you know, there's a companionship exemption as part of the Fair Standards Labor Act for workers that take care of the elderly, a live-in. There's an exemption. So we asked, as part of the immigration reform, to consider the needs of domestic workers as well as low-income wage workers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, I'm going to try to be quick, so we get questions just for the good and benefit. Boy, when you start to peel back some of the abuse that happens there's visas that can bring in people to work legally as domestics in homes. I learned as I poked into this that we have slavery in this country. Sometimes, people will take these domestics on and they get locked in the basement and they live as slaves. So thank you for making that point. There is a lot of abuse that I hope we can deal with as part of the broader reform. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank you so much for entertaining my question. I'm Hannah from Monroe. Two things. Well, first of all, regarding immigration, maybe I have to understand it a little better. But am I correct in thinking that it's our nation's policy now to take a humane position regarding the illegal immigrants? There's no deportation actively going on unless they're criminals. Is that true?
No, the reverse is true, actually. President Obama has spent more money and been more aggressive about deportation than any president prior. He of course, controls it through ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. So the levels of and the money spent on deportation are actually higher than they have been at any point in our history.
So they're actively deporting illegals?
Yes.
So then what happens in a state like Connecticut where they have safe havens? What does the president do in that regard?
I don't know all the ins and outs of safe havens. I know that some cities will not devote police resources to identifying people who are here. I mean, that's sort of not what they do anyway, local police departments. But no city or state can tell the federal government, you can't deport these people just because we're in a safe haven. The federal government has the right to deport people from wherever they may be. And a lot of people have expressed concern about that as a policy. It costs a lot of money. Even deporting somebody, the judicial process of doing that is expensive. These people, are in prisons for months, and our taxpayers are paying for them. So it's actually a pretty expensive thing to do, but they've been doing a lot of it. And it's one of the hopeful things about an immigration reform is that we can channel our efforts away from just the intense deportation that we've been doing now, more towards identifying the undocumented who are here, who are not working or who are criminals or whatnot, and deporting them, the security risks, but taking everybody else, and as I said before, giving them a path that ultimately turns them into taxpayers and, has them out in the open, and we know that they're not criminals and that they're,
in the open.
Okay, so that leads to my real question. Regarding people that are here on work visas, my heart breaks for especially the young students that have come and been here since teen, paid their own way. Great universities, math, finance, engineering. I want to cry. After 6 years of being on a work visa, let's say, what happens is now because our corporations are laying off American citizens, they're not sponsoring them for their green cards, and they have 2 weeks to leave the country. So as a congressman, as we address the whole illegal immigration system. Is there anything we can do for these students right now before they have to pack their bags and leave in 2 weeks? Is there anything as a congressman you can bring to the floor on behalf of these kids? And as you said, as a PS, staple the green card to there. I know kids engineering, these major corporations in Stanford and Norwalk, and they're paralyzed with every layoff, and yet when they want to be sponsored for the green card, after sponsoring them for 6 years, they're being denied. Is there anything being discussed?
I hear what you're saying. There are some really heartbreaking cases. People who've been students here for a long time. There's also, you didn't mention it, but young people who are brought by their parents illegally at age 2, 3, 4. They go middle school, high school, fluent English. They don't remember Guatemala or Kenya or Kiev or wherever they came from. And then they learn when they apply for financial aid to Yukon that they're not citizens and they don't qualify. Also another heartbreaking category. They call them the Dreamers, the Dream Act kids. The answer to your question is that in the next 2 months, no, the policies aren't going to change. But the immigration reform, which I am pretty confident is going to happen, is going to hopefully, and I can't predict exactly how it comes out of the Congress, is hopefully going to abide by this principle that if somebody's gotten educated here and they're contributing, either because they're an engineer or because they work in Stanford or whatever, that there is an accelerated path for them to ultimately get a green card. But in the next week or 2 months, we're going to be living with the old system.
Okay, but it is part of the and why
yes.
Why does it have to be an all or nothing thing when we approach these issues? Like everything has to be addressed. Excuse me, residents. I mean, these people are paying taxes. They're here legally at the moment. Why can't we address things in pieces instead of the all or nothing? Does it come to politics, do you think?
I think the reason immigration reform has to happen in one big comprehensive package is that it's a little bit like whatever budget deal gets done in May or June. There's going to be stuff in there that I like and stuff in there that I don't like. And the way you get a deal done is when there's just when everybody has a combination of stuff they like and stuff they don't like. But the deal is big and important enough that the Congress says we should